Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a fun birthday card to share with you today. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's Happy Hello stamp set along with the Happy Hello outline dies, Jaded Blossom's sentiment strip dies, their gnome dies birthday add-ons, their birthday dies, and their stitched and scalloped hexagon dies. Now that Happy Hello set is actually a bundle that you can get. It's the spotlight for this month. Now I'm also using Honeybee Stamps Birthday Bash and Over the Rainbow 6-inch pads. So I have a piece of paper from those 6-inch pads, and I'm going to be using my Misty and doing some stamping. I'll be stamping the word hello and the word cupcake, both from that Happy Hello stamp set, using VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. You'll see that I have a waffle flower grip mat in my Misty, which is pretty handy to hold your paper while you're doing your stamping. So I'm just going to stamp that. Remember, you want to press lightly, stamp multiple times. You get your clearest image that way. So there we are. So I'm just gently stamping, and I'll set that off to the side to dry. And then I will use my sentiment strip dies to cut out the word cupcake, and then I'll be using the Happy Hello outline dies to cut out the word hello. There we go. I do use some Easy C tape to kind of line up my dies and keep them in place as I run them through my Anna Griffin Mini Empress machine. So I'm just taping them in place. Like I said, these stamps are the May 2024 Spotlight stamps, and that means they're on sale for the month of May 2024 while supplies last. So it's a great way to get a good deal. Okay, so here we go. I'm taking my hexagon die and I'm cutting out pattern paper from those same pads. This one says happy birthday multiple times across the bottom. So I'm just sort of pulling that off. Now you'll notice that I folded a card base, made it a paper tray ink, white cardstock, and then I hung my die over top of the edge so it doesn't cut the top edge. And then I went ahead and cut that hexagon again with paper tray ink white cardstock, and I'm going to stick down that layer on top of my little card base that I made. And then it looks like it's a full hexagon. You see there's my little fold, and it's hiding. So there we go. It's just an easy way to make a fast shape card. Now I'm just going to trim up this piece of paper, and this is I'll be cutting this at 1 3/4 inches. And then I'll add that to the inside of my card base there with some ATG tape. So like I said, all my die cutting today was done with my Anna Griffin Mini Empress machine. I'm also working on a Stampin' Up! Pad like I always do. And there we go. And I'm going to be using the stamp set, So Many Birthdays 5 in a second here. I'm just using a nail sponge to sand off any little, phrase of paper that you get while you're die cutting. So this is my So Many Birthdays 5 stamp set and outline dies. I stamped onto paper tray ink white cardstock with VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. And I'll be adding that to this little spot on the bottom with some Bearly Art glue, using my reverse tweezers, and I'm just trying to make sure things are straight. So there we go. There's more pattern paper from those pads that I mentioned. And I cut it out of the pattern paper and then out of paper tray ink white cardstock again, just giving it a little bit of presence on my card base, making things a little bit thicker. There we go. And I do weight it down with an acrylic block. And now I'll put that on the front of my card base using that same ATG tape. And I'll just line it up. You'll sort of see the stitching around the edge, which is, makes it nice. There we go. So I'm just going to add that to the front of my card. And there you have it. So it's kind of fun. So next, this I actually forget to use. So, I leave my mistakes in. I cut a different pattern paper from that pad, and then I cut it out of paper tray ink white cardstock again and layer them up. This was supposed to go behind my shaker window, but I completely forgot. I'll have to use it on another card. So what I did here was I laid out two of the consecutive sizes of hexagons, and I taped them in place and then ran them through my die cutting machine. So I cut out this pattern paper, which is sprinkles, and then I cut it out again twice using paper tray white cardstock just to give it, a little bit of weight for the frame. I'm using some score tape around the edge, and I'm going to add some acetate packaging to this little hexagon, and then I will trim off, trim behind my hexagon frame with a pair of scissors. This is just stamp packaging, or it could be like if you buy paper. I keep all of it, and you could use it as a shaker front. So I'm going to layer up these frames using some Barely Art glue. And to make sure they all cut exactly the same, what I did was I taped the two hexagons together, and then that way I could, put them on as a unit onto the paper to cut it out again. So I knew that it would be the same, the same hexagon or the same frame every time. So now I'm just adding some more score tape around the edge of this one. There we go. And I'll be adding that to the back of this shaker window. And the idea is I was supposed to put the shaker bits, I was supposed to add some foam tape and then add that other pattern paper to the back of it and then add it as a unit to the front of my card with the shaker bits, but I completely forgot about it. And this is what happens. So I'm going to add some 3M foam tape to the edge, and that'll add, a little bit of space for my shaker bits. Just trimming this off, trying to get a tight fit around the edge, because I'll be using some Studio Katia polymer clay, shaker bits, along with, they look like sprinkles, along with some sequins. So I'm just adding these on, and then I will be adding that to my card base. So there we go. You just want to fill in all those cracks because you don't want to lose any of your shaker bits out of your window, because that makes a mess, right? When someone goes to shake it, and they will, because everyone loves to shake a shaker card, right? Just going to add another little piece there just to make sure that corner is sealed. There we go. And then I will peel off my backing. And this is when I should have added my shaker bits to the window and then added that backing piece, but I completely forgot. So I'm going to add my shaker pieces. So I've got my Studio Katia crystal clear confetti and then those polymer sprinkles. There we go. Adding them to the center. And then I will line up my shaker window. It would have been easier had I added that paper to the, put the shaker bits into the window and then added the same size hexagon on top of it. And then I could layer the whole piece on top of the card. But, like I said, hindsight's 20/20 and I made a boo-boo. But I leave my stuff in. So it turned out very cute anyway. But it would have been easier to line that up had I, had it on. So there is my little shaker. So now I went ahead and I cut out this Hello outline die a couple of times out of scraps of paper tray white cardstock. I'm just going to layer those up, and then I'll layer my pattern piece on top that I did the stamping on. I'm just making this a little bit thicker because this will be on, overhanging my card front a bit. And I'm just going to weight that down. And next I'm going to put together my little cupcake. I did cut it out of white paper tray cardstock and then again out of patterns from those 2 honeybee pads I mentioned earlier. So there we go, gluing them together with that Barely Art glue. And then I did cut the layer out for the word cupcake again out of those sentiment strips. And I'm just going to weight that down as well. And I'm going to put together my little cupcake. So this is the wrapper that I cut out of white paper tray cardstock and then the pattern paper again from Honeybee. I love this plaid. It looks super cute. And I do weight it down again. Now I have another little cupcake. These are from the Gnome Dies birthday add-ons. And I cut it out of white paper trank cardstock and then the pattern paper again from those honeybee stamps. And I also used Neenah Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock for the cupcake color. There we go. So this is going to end up being the cupcake color. And then the icing kind of sits on top. There we go. And now I'm going to stack my icing. I just like that this gives an added thickness to all my little, images and makes it pop a little bit, I think. So I'm just going to glue this icing down, like I said, on the top of the cupcake. There we go. And then I'll add that to the cupcake. And isn't that cute? There you have it. Okay, so I will put together this little cupcake now. That base was cut out of paper trank white cardstock again. So I'm just going to add my Barely Art glue to the back of this wrapper, and then I'll add the icing on next. There is a little cherry that you can add to the top of this cupcake, but I'm going to use the mini cupcake as kind of like the cherry on top of this cupcake, if you get my gist. And there you go. I do weight it down with that acrylic block again. So now I'm going to be just sort of arranging my cupcakes. I'm adding some scrapbook adhesives, dimensionals on the back of this little cupcake. I'm going to have it kind of in the lower right. And I'll have my hello in the upper left-hand corner of this hexagon. So I'm just peeling off the release papers on the back. And then we will add my little cupcake to that lower right-hand corner again. Isn't that cute? And then I'm going to add that little cupcake, kind of like a little topper. And I'll be using some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals for that. And a little bit of Barely Art glue on the bottom. There. And using my reverse tweezers as well. Just trimming off some foam that was sticking out. And there we go. And I'll pop that in the upper right-hand corner of that cupcake. And then I'm adding the sentiment cupcake kind of across that cupcake wrapper. And I'll be adding that hello, sort of straddling that frame a bit. Isn't that cute? And then I'm trying to decide where that cupcake is going to go, but I will put it across the cupcake wrapper. Just with a little bit of that Barely Art glue, using my reverse tweezers again. And there you have it. So it's super simple. There. And there is my shaker. You gotta love that sound. So now I'm going to be adding some Nouveau Crystal drops in Simply White to the front of my little cupcake, or on top of the icing, sort of to go look like little, little sprinkles, right? There we go. I'm gonna make sure that your Nouveau Crystal drops are nice and warm and make sure the nozzle is clear so you get perfectly domed ones. And you'll have to put it off to the side and make sure that it dries completely. You don't wanna be touching those little droplets until they're dry. So there you have it. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team, the Jaded Blossom store, to get your hands on these super cute products. And thank you as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Make sure you are a follower over on the Jaded Blossom YouTube site and the Leanne K YouTube site. Bye everybody.